133 Clone Wars episodes range from I wanna gouge my eyes out to this is literally the greatest piece of fiction ever created. Let's get started. The worst Clone Wars arc of all time has to be the droid arc. No, not that one. Episodes 6 and 7 of Season 1. The only thing more annoying than that yellow droid is genuinely how stupid Ahsoka is. After R2 gets lost in a battle, he gets replaced by another one who's a spy. The entire time, Anakin is furious because he can never replace R2 while Ahsoka is begging him to move on. Eventually, it ends in R2 killing the droid and then blowing up the Separatist station. It also has this absolutely insane animation mistake. Like, how does this even get past the editor? In Spot 35, Nomad Droids. This arc is so forgettable that I literally had to look up what even happened. It's an arc following R2 and C-3PO as they're carrying out a mission. They meet these little people and essentially wander underground for the entire time. It's basically Star Wars but Wizard of Oz. Okay, listen, I don't have a problem with the goofy side missions. They can be actually quite fun, but this one was beyond boring. The only reason why I didn't put this arc at dead last is because Commander freaking Wolf. 34. The Martez Sisters. On top of the fact that these are just awful episodes to begin with, they took up a third of an already shortened final season. We see Ahsoka for the first time since she left the Order in Season 5, and she seems to be making a new life for herself. After crashing on Trace and Rafa's landing pad, she makes some new friends and accompanies them to a dangerous spice mission on Kessel. Even the best part of this arc are mildly entertaining at best. It's clear the writers intended us to really care about the two sisters by the end, and I just didn't. Sure, it set up Ahsoka's return for the final arc, but it'd be a stretch to say that even half of this was even necessary. This has to be one of the weirdest arcs. Bombad Jedi was one of the goofiest, dumbest, yet for some reason charming episodes. Cloak of Darkness is a spectacular episode, giving us a taste of Luminara, Ventress, and Commander Gree. The Lair of General Grievous was one of the worst episodes in the entire show. Kit Fisto is great, but his slimy little Padawan is one of the most obnoxious characters in the whole show. I suppose that was the point, but well, that doesn't mean I have to like it. Arc number 32, The Malevolence. On paper, this arc is awesome. Plo Koon, General Grievous, and a really cool concept for a ship. Unfortunately, it's just so boring. On one side is Plo Koon, who is stranded in an escape pod, and on the other is Anakin and Ahsoka being tasked with rescuing him. Tension builds as the Separatist pod hunters are eliminating the clones one by one. Eventually, of course, Anakin and Ahsoka come to the rescue, but now they must protect the medical station. The third and final episode is even more boring. Let me save you 20 minutes of your life because basically, they just run around inside the Malevolence until they destroy it. At least it has the excuse of being at the very start of the show when they were still clearly figuring things out. Water War is one of those arcs where either you love it or you hate it. It's honestly so surprising that it took them 4 whole seasons for an underwater arc, and unfortunately, they just did not deliver. The Separatists aligned with the Quarren and were led by the incredibly underwhelming villain, Riff Tamson. Throughout the 3 episodes, we see the Prince being mentored by Admiral Akbar. Akbar is great, and so is the appearance of both Republic and Gungans who come and aid the Mon Cala, but Prince Lichar is so annoying. Eventually, of course, the Quarren come to their senses and betray the Separatists, and the arc ends happily ever after. Despite having some truly incredible arcs, Season 4 can also be super disappointing. Okay, this arc gets way too much hate, which sounds crazy because it fell this far back on the list, but hear me out. Is it boring? Yeah, a little. Does it drag on for way too long? Absolutely. But you can't deny that the vibes are immaculate. Gregor alone makes this arc worth watching. In the first episode, the droids all get upgrades and are assigned a mission to steal data from a Separatist ship. On their way back, they need to make a crash landing on this desert planet and eventually make their escape. Then, after safely returning to the Republic Venator, they learn that it's under Separatist control and essentially a huge bomb. R2, being the hero that he is, saves everyone and their mission is complete. 29. The Lurman Arc. The good old crash landing arc finds Ahsoka, Anakin, Ayla Secura, and Commander Bly on a planet inhabited by the Lurmen. The Separatists arrive, not knowing the Jedi are there, but to test their new weapon, the Defoliator. At the end of the day, this arc is very forgettable and can't really go too much higher. I think it's fair to say that this is the point where arcs go from meh to actually pretty solid. 28. The Banking Clan arc. One of many political arcs, and in my opinion, the weakest. This story follows Padme and Ahsoka as they meet up with Senator Bon Terry, and this is so meaningful because it's the first time we see the Separatists as, well, people. Simultaneously, General Grievous attacks Coruscant through the quote-unquote cleaning droids. Aside from their pursuit of peace, Padme also plays a crucial role in stopping the creation of new clones. This arc ultimately ends with Anakin Tafar being assassinated and the corruption of the Republic finally being brought into light. 27. The Young Boba Fett arc. Motivated by his hatred for Mace Windu, Boba Fett goes undercover as a clone cadet aboard the Endurance. We see Boba being mentored by notoriously evil bounty hunter Aurra Sing. We see Boba battling his conscience because while he wants revenge, he clearly still cares for his clone brothers. After successfully bringing down an entire cruiser, he's left to finish the job and hunt down Mace, who is quite literally trapped on his ship beside Anakin. I don't have any issues with this arc, it's just not overly compelling. Being Season 2's final arc on top of that, it was just a really disappointing way of ending the season. 26. The Corruption of Mandalore. Despite corruption in the Academy being the two sole episodes, we get another decent political story. The first episode follows Padme when she and Satine expose the corruption of somebody who tainted the school water. The second episode highlights Ahsoka, and it's interesting to see her take the place as a teacher after all we've ever known her as is a Padawan. The arc ends in their discovery that Almec, the Prime Minister of Mandalore, is behind all of the corruption. Overall, I wasn't that engaged in this one, but it had its moments. The slightly better Mandalore arc is the one from Season 2, this time putting Obi-Wan in the spotlight. We not only are introduced to Duchess Satine of Mandalore, but we also get a slice of her backstory with Obi-Wan. I loved the inclusion of Death Watch, and Pre Vizsla is such a compelling villain. Something the Clone Wars does so well is bring villains that not only have a bit of just motivation, but also similarity to the real world. Unfortunately, this arc spirals downhill after the first episode, although we did get this iconic scene. I wasn't quite sure what to call this arc, but it starts with General Grievous capturing and torturing Eth Koth. The Deserter, Season 2 Episode 10, was another solid one. This is our first taste of clones living outside of the army. Cut Lawquane's appearance made a huge impact on Captain Rex, and you can tell that he clearly kept this with him throughout the remainder of the Clone Wars. 23. The Youngling arc from Season 5. These 4 episodes take us to the planet Ilum, and finally reveal the truth behind the construction of a Jedi lightsaber. While on their way back, they're attacked by Hondo Ohnaka and his gang of pirates. They mount a full counterattack and escape. Well, almost all of them escape. The final episode, taking place on the planet Florum, is a fantastic finale and a great callback to Season 1. Seeing Hondo as a protagonist allying with the Jedi was so much fun to watch. The only reason I couldn't rank it higher is because some of the content in the first 2 episodes was just a bit boring. This arc is beyond confusing. The first episode is technically Season 2 Episode 16, Cat and Mouse, and then the Hidden Enemy from Season 1, and then finishing off with the Clone Wars movie. These episodes were such a fun introduction to Ahsoka's character. They begin by bringing release supplies to Christopsis, evading attacks from Admiral Trench. Episode 16, The Hidden Enemy, really shows us that the Grand Army of the Republic isn't sunshine and rainbows, and some of the clones really feel like they're being enslaved. While I was never overly fond of the Clone Wars movie, there is no denying that it has those really fun 2008 vibes. 21. The Ryloth arc. These 3 episodes to round off Season 1 are a great mix of space battle, ground invasion, and a variety between so many different characters. Our heroes try to free the Twi'leks living on Ryloth despite them being used as human shields. This arc is action-packed from beginning until the end, but we still get little moments like Waxer and Boyle who form a nice little bond with a young Twi'lek girl named Numa. who also appeared later in Star Wars Rebels with their same markings on her helmet. The Cad Bane arc at the beginning of Season 2 is very solid. We actually start off at the end of Season 1 where Cad Bane holds the entire Senate hostage and escapes with Zero the Hutt. Cad Bane gets hired by Darth Sidious to steal a holocron because he wants to know a list of all of the Force-sensitive children. Season 2 Episode 1 shows Cad Bane breaking into the Jedi Temple and successfully extracting the Sacred Box. Then we see him evade the Jedi in an epic space battle and even fake his own death. If at this point you haven't fallen in love with Cad Bane, then I simply don't know what to tell you. He's cunning yet charming and a genuine threat. In the final episode, the Jedi chase Cad Bane through different star systems trying to get the children that he formerly kidnapped. This dude literally outwitted Obi-Wan and Mace Windu in the same room. 19. The Second Battle of Geonosis. This arc has one of the strongest opening episodes with landing at Point Rain. This three-way battle follows Anakin and Ahsoka, Plo Koon, and Obi-Wan. Unfortunately, the fall-off is crazy. They go from one of the best episodes in the entire show to 3 mediocre ones. I will say, Legacy of Terror could almost pass as Horde television if it wasn't for Anakin and Obi-Wan's bickering. After they think the battle is over, the entire ship gets infested by Geonosian bugs. Is it crazy to say that this arc is underrated? The pure satisfaction of watching Anakin beat up Clovis is enough to do it for me. Our final political arc finds itself in the middle of Season 6, and the only reason people hate on it is because it's in between 2 great arcs. This arc contrasts Padme's desire to spy on Clovis and expose the banking clan's corruption with Anakin's increasing jealousy. While Clovis is far from a fan-favorite character, his sacrifice at the end of Episode 7 has earned him some respect in my book. 17. Clone Cadets. This is another one that they put in some weird order when Disney Plus started in 2019. Seeing the clones' first steps and initial training was one of the main things we were missing from Attack of the Clones. We quickly get attached to the Domino Squad, despite them all brutally dying by the end of the series. Jumping back to Season 1 is what is, in my opinion, the best episode of Season 1, Rookies. Commando droids attack Rishi Outpost, and this is the Domino Squad's first assignment after graduation. Unfortunately, we lost Heavy, but his sacrifice was certainly one to be remembered. This is pretty much the turning point when Clone Wars arcs go from good to great. We then go back to Season 3 with honestly probably a top 15 episode in the show, ARC Troopers. It's in the name, but after successfully battling off the Separatist attack on Kamino, Fives and Echo get promoted to ARC Troopers. In conclusion, RIP 99. 16. The Night Sisters. This arc has not only one of the best beginnings to any episode, but also one of the most unexpected with Count Dooku betraying Asajj Ventress. Ventress returns to her birthplace on Dathomir and is reunited with her sisters. Using their dark magic, they infiltrate Count Dooku's palace on Sereno, but of course, their assassination attempt fails. In the next episode, we meet Savage Opress, who Mother Talzin gifted as his new apprentice. While working as a double agent, Savage not only betrays Dooku, but also Ventress and goes off on his own to find Darth Maul. While all 3 episodes in this arc are great, Witches of the Mist is especially phenomenal. Next is a short 2-episode arc being Padawan Lost and Wookiee Hunt. Ahsoka gets kidnapped by the Trandoshans and is hunted down for sport. After meeting other Jedi younglings and eventually Chewbacca, they eventually attack the main ship, being aided by other Wookiees. I just love these episodes that give us a spoonful of horrors outside of the clean, orderly Jedi Temple. 14. The War on Onderon. This arc is pretty much a roller coaster from start to finish. We see Ahsoka fall in love, Lux chooses Steela over her, and then Steela tragically dies. We walk through Anakin, Ahsoka, and Rex training the Onderon rebels to retake their planet from the Separatists. Amidst the obvious conflict, being the war, we also get internal conflict mainly being caused by Saw Gerrera. The point is that these rebels are never going to win unless they're fully united. It kinda came out of the blue, but we even get a surprise appearance from Hondo. Unfortunately, none of these episodes really stand out, but they're consistently very good. 13. The Zygerian Slave Arc. This arc is dark. While Obi-Wan and Anakin go undercover as slave masters, Ahsoka takes the part of a slave in hopes of rescuing her people, the Togrutas. Anakin forms a interesting relationship with the Queen, and Anakin, you should have had this riz with your wife.
I don't like sand.
Since Anakin was a slave for the good part of his childhood, we can see his escalating hatred towards the Zygarians. Unfortunately, the last episode, Escape from Cadavo, fell off a bit. It did, however, have one of the best reinforcement scenes by none other than Plo Koon and the Wolfpack. The Citadel is the only Clone Wars arc from Season 3 or earlier to make it past spot 15. Not only is the storytelling on this one absolutely incredible from start to finish, but the setting is absolutely beautiful. In the first episode, we get a callback to Return of the Jedi. They introduce a new villain, Sobek, who was one of those try-to-act tough guys, but he was basically just terrified of Count Dooku the whole time. Also, shout out to K2B4, who is of course a reference to the one and only Kobe Bryant. This arc ultimately has one of the most heartbreaking final episodes, and I'll say it, I might have cried once, or maybe twice. 11. Season 4, Episodes 19 and 20. We'll go with the Ventress arc. Following the Night Sisters arc that we saw earlier, Grievous is sent to Dathomir. I'll give you 3 guesses why. This episode was so good that we saw it from a different point of view in the show that must not be named. Grievous's invasion is so successful that the only Night Sisters he wasn't able to kill were Ventress, Mother Talzin, and Morgan Elsbeth. Bounty might be the most underrated episode in the entire show. Ventress joins a squad of bounty hunters led by young Boba Fett, and they deliver a prisoner. This was Asajj's first mission after her exile, and we get a good glimpse that there's still a lot of good in her from her Jedi days. This episode is also cinematic from the first minute until the last. Finally cracking the top 10 is actually the next 3 episodes. Once again, we pick up after Season 3 and follow Savage as he seeks out Darth Maul. Brothers is definitely the weakest of the 3 episodes, but I mean it's still very solid. It's so hard to successfully bring somebody back from the dead, but Dave Filoni knocked it out of the park. I never thought I'd see Obi-Wan and Ventress team up, but I guess I should have after this interaction. Season 5, Episode 1, Revival, is by far the strongest of the 3 episodes. Obi-Wan and Adi Gallia track Savage and Maul to Florum after they steal a band of Hondo's pirates. After the, I hate to say it, pretty pathetic death of Adi Gallia, Obi-Wan goes full demon mode and beats Maul and Savage together. This arc comes to an end when the pirates shoot down Maul and Savage's ship, leaving them stranded in space. 9. Yoda's Journey, the original end to the Clone Wars. The first episode is by far the best out of the 3. Obi-Wan and Anakin are investigating a long-lost trail on the planet Obadiah. Palpatine, being the double agent that he is, sends Count Dooku to investigate when they break out into their famous duel when Dooku masterfully puts Anakin onto the defense and forcing Obi-Wan out of his Form 3 lightsaber combat. The next episode is essentially 20 minutes of a fever dream, but I loved every bit of it. We even get a quick Darth Bane appearance. It ends off strong with Yoda dueling Palpatine on Coruscant, but it's all within his head. It wasn't this location's first appearance, and it wasn't the last either. This arc wasn't overly significant, but the ending was so emotional. If you know, you know. 8. Clone Conspiracy. Hot take, but this arc is a little bit overrated. It opens with a battle featuring twin Jedi and the return of Admiral Trench when Tup assassinates General Tiplar. After a super long investigation, they figure out that his chip malfunctioned. Five's discovery that these chips are more dangerous in their heads than out is of course a great threat to Palpatine. These 4 episodes really exposed how blind the Jedi actually were. This great arc ends in tragedy, with the death of everyone's favorite clone. 7. The Bad Batch. This arc was so good that it warranted a 3-season spin-off. After Delta Squad getting completely ignored, it was so satisfying to get a glimpse at specialty units like the Bad Batch. Clone Force 99's infamous 100% success rate gets put to the test as they follow a signal all the way to Skako Minor. The plot twist that Echo was still alive remains one of the most controversial decisions to date. While I liked it, I also think it cheapened his death in season 3 a bit. This arc ends with Echo deciding to join the Bad Batch, opposed to rejoining the 501st Legion. I remember being so mad when this dropped in 2020, but looking back, it was definitely a great move. 6. Ahsoka Framed. This might sound pathetic, but the first time I watched Ahsoka leave the Order is the hardest I've cried in my entire life. But we first have to understand how we got there. Anakin and Ahsoka get called back to the Jedi Temple because somebody bombed it. After going on a wild goose chase, they find the real culprit, Letta, but it's not that easy. While Letta claims that somebody else is behind it and is about to tell Ahsoka who, she gets choked to death in her prison cell. Ahsoka gets framed for murder and spends an entire episode hiding in the Coruscant underworld with Asajj Ventress. Anakin, the only person that believes Ahsoka didn't do it, hunts down Barriss Offee. She of course then has an awful redemption arc in the show that must not be named, but let's not talk about that. Ahsoka is welcomed back into the Order with open arms, but she has seen what they've become. Season 5 could not have asked for a better ending. Cracking the top 5 is the Umbara arc. Episodes 7 through 10 in Season 4 take us on an emotional roller coaster like we've never seen before. It shows us how much personality and individuality they actually have. If you don't fall in love with clones after this arc, you might have a black heart. These emotions get egged on by arguably the most hateable character ever written. Umbara is literally Vietnam in space. As good as the first 3 episodes were, Carnage Krell might just be a top 5 episode. It takes no less than 3 watch-throughs to understand what is going on in the Mortis arc. These 3 incredible episodes cover the deepest part of Jedi lore. The daughter represents not just the Jedi, but the light. Opposing her is the son, embodying the dark side of the Force. The father holds the balance and is in charge of his children. After Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan are lured onto Mortis, Anakin immediately gets questioned for being the chosen one. The son carefully manipulates him and gives him a glimpse into what he will become. This arc ends with the father sacrificing himself to save the daughter while Anakin kills the son. His memory gets erased, but nothing can stop him from facing his destiny. Before we move into the top 3, let's do a lightning round of the top 10 episodes. 10. Season 3, Episode 17, Ghosts of Mortis. 9. Season 2, Episode 5, Landing at Point Rain. 8. Season 3, Episode 20, Citadel Rescue. 7. Season 7, Episode 11, Shattered. 6. Season 7, Episode 12, Victory in Death. 5. Season 5, Episode 22, The Wrong Jedi. 4. Season 4, Episode 10, Carnage of Krell. 3. Season 7, Episode 9, Old Friends Not Forgotten. 2. Season 5, Episode 16, The Lawless. And the best episode in television history is Season 7, Episode 10, The Phantom Apprentice. 3. Obi-Wan Undercover, or better known as Star Wars Squid Games. After the Jedi Order suspects a plot to assassinate Chancellor Palpatine, Obi-Wan fakes his death and transforms into the very man that killed him. Mace Windu is convinced that the only way for this to work is for Anakin to be kept in the dark. This inadvertently draws him nearer to the dark side and grows his distrust with the Order. While none of these may be top 5 or even top 10 episodes, they're so consistently perfect that it earned a spot in the top 3. In the number 2 spot is Maul's rise to power from Season 5. This 3-episode arc starts with a bang when Maul and Savage are found in space after their defeat at Florum and start their crime empire. Maul's goal is to rule Mandalore behind the scenes, but we don't find out until Season 7 why. His plan almost comes crumbling down when Palpatine shows up and makes Maul and Savage look like fools. Maul actually gets freed later by Mandalorians, but that only shows up in the Sons of Dathomir comics. This was the long-standing best Clone Wars arc until being dethroned by the one and only Siege of Mandalore. After watching both Game of Thrones and Stranger Things, it's so refreshing to see a show that has a good ending. Ahsoka allies with Bo-Katan and Ursa Wren, essentially making a Shark Tank pitch to the Republic. Ahsoka leads the 332nd Battalion and eventually has an epic duel in the best Clone Wars episode of all time. Just when the battle was won, it all came crumbling down when Order 66 struck in the middle of their return. The ending of this arc is beyond heartbreaking, but also an incredibly satisfying finish to the greatest show of all time.